Formula One has always been about speed, precision, and pushing the limits of what's possible on four wheels. But alongside the glory and the trophies, there's a darker side. Moments of controversy that shook the sport, divided fans, and sometimes even rewrote history. Today, we're diving into some of the most dramatic and controversial events in F1 history, where the battles weren't just fought on the track, but also in politics, rivalries, and behind-the-scenes deals. Let's start with one of the biggest scandals in modern Formula One history. Crashgate. It's 2008, the Singapore Grand Prix. Renault driver Nelson Piquet Jr. intentionally crashes his car on lap 14, bringing out a safety car. At the time, his teammate Fernando Alonso had already pitted early and suddenly found himself in the perfect position to take advantage. Alonso went on to win the race. But here's the twist: it wasn't an accident. A year later, Piquet revealed that Renault had ordered him to crash on purpose to help Alonso. The revelation exploded like a bomb in the F1 world. Renault's team boss, Flavio Briatore, was banned from F1 for life, though he later got the ban overturned in court. Pat Simons, another key figure in the scandal, was also banned. The event tarnished Renault's reputation and made fans question just how far teams were willing to go to win. Crashgate wasn't just controversial because it involved cheating. It was controversial because it put lives at risk. Formula One is dangerous enough without a team deliberately asking a driver to crash. Now let's rewind a little to 2002, the Austrian Grand Prix. Ferrari was dominating that season, with Michael Schumacher leading the championship comfortably. But Ferrari's second driver, Rubens Barrichello, was leading the race in Austria and looked set for victory. On the final lap, Ferrari gave Barrichello a team order: let Schumacher pass. In front of thousands of fans at the track and millions watching on TV, Barrichello slowed down just before the finish line and allowed Schumacher to win. The crowd booed. Commentators were stunned. Even Schumacher himself looked uncomfortable as he stood on the podium, forcing Barrichello up to the top step with him. Team orders weren't new in F1, but this was the moment that made fans furious. It was so blatant, so unnecessary, that it damaged Ferrari's image and led the FIA to temporarily ban team orders. Of course, team orders still exist today, just in more subtle ways. But Austria 2002 will always be remembered as the moment when fans felt the sport had been manipulated right in front of their eyes. If you talk about controversy in Formula One, one rivalry always comes up: Ayrton Senna versus Alain Prost. These two weren't just teammates, they were bitter enemies. Their clashes are legendary, but two incidents stand above the rest. In 1989 at Suzuka, Prost and Senna collided at the chicane. Prost got out of the car immediately, convinced the race was over. Senna, however, got pushed back onto the track, rejoined the race, and went on to win. But after the race, the FIA disqualified him for cutting the track, handing Prost the championship. Many believed politics played a role. FIA President Jean-Marie Balestre was French, like Prost. The following year, at the very same track in Suzuka, Senna got his revenge. On the very first corner, Senna drove straight into Prost, taking them both out of the race. This time, Senna secured the championship, but in the most ruthless way possible. These two moments defined the Senna-Prost rivalry. For some fans, Senna's actions in 1990 were unforgivable. For others, it was payback for the injustice of 1989. Either way, this feud is remembered as the most controversial rivalry in F1 history. Now we jump to one of the most dramatic seasons in modern times: Hamilton versus Verstappen in 2021. From the very first race in Bahrain, it was clear this was going to be a fight like no other. Mercedes and Red Bull were neck and neck, and the two drivers clashed repeatedly on track. Silverstone was one of the biggest flashpoints. On the first lap, Hamilton and Verstappen collided at high speed. Verstappen's car smashed into the barriers at 51G, ending his race. Hamilton went on to win, sparking huge controversy. Was it a racing incident, or did Hamilton deliberately leave Verstappen no space? Fans are still divided, but the biggest controversy came in the final race in Abu Dhabi. With the championship tied, it all came down to one race. On the final laps, a crash brought out the safety car. Race director Michael Masi made a shocking decision. Only some of the lapped cars were allowed to unlap themselves, setting up a one-lap showdown between Hamilton and Verstappen. Verstappen, on fresher tires, overtook Hamilton and won the championship. Mercedes and Hamilton fans were outraged, arguing that the rules had been bent in Verstappen's favor. The fallout was massive. Masi lost his job, the FIA rewrote its safety car rules, and the 2021 finale went down in history as one of the most controversial endings ever. While those are the big four, Formula One is full of controversies. A few more deserve a quick spotlight. Michael Schumacher's dark side. Known as one of the greatest of all time, Schumacher also had his share of dirty moments. In 1994, at Adelaide, he collided with Damon Hill, securing the championship in a crash that many saw as intentional. Then in 1997, he tried the same trick against Jacques Villeneuve, but failed, leading to his disqualification from the championship standings. Here's the thing. As much as fans hate these moments in the heat of the moment, controversies are part of what makes Formula One unforgettable. The rivalries, the drama, the scandals, they add to the mythology of the sport. Without Crashgate, team orders, Senna versus Prost, or Hamilton versus Verstappen, F1 would just be another motorsport. But these moments made it global headlines. They gave fans something to debate for years, sometimes decades. And maybe that's why Formula One continues to grow in popularity. Because at the end of the day, we're not just watching cars. We're watching human ambition, ego, and sometimes mistakes play out at 200 miles per hour. Formula One has always walked a fine line between glory and controversy. Every season brings new drama, new rivalries, and sometimes new scandals. And that's exactly why fans keep watching. Because you never know what's going to happen next. So, what do you think? Which moment do you believe was the most controversial in F1 history? Was it Senna and Prost, Crashgate, or the chaos of Abu Dhabi 2021? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the dramatic side of Formula One, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more F1 stories, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Because in Formula One, one thing is certain: the drama is never over.